So apart from that, everything else is really tickety-boo. So I'm going to now go on to some of the good things that I really like about this machine. But before I get on to the good things, I've just remembered one thing as well, and the last thing about the problem with this machine. Manoeuvrability. Now, in this workshop it's not too bad, now I've extended it, but it is really heavy. Once it's all together, it does weigh a lot. It weighs quite a bit. So moving it about the workshop, you can't just lift it up, you do have to drag it. You may look into getting a wheeled base on it. The only issue I have with a wheeled base, I've not had one before, but I have, my table saw is on a wheeled base that I made. My grinding, sharpening system is on a wheeled base that I made. The issue I have with them is that they do move when you're pushing stuff through and stuff like that, so they're not 100% secure movement wise. I've not tried a properly made holder. I can't remember what they're called. So you may well have to purchase a movable base for this machine if you need to move it about the workshop, unless you can get a place where it's sat all the time and doesn't need to be moved. But even in this workshop I still have to pull it out from the wall because I like a nice big space in the middle, all free of stuff, so I can bring my machines out into it. So yeah, so this has to be dragged a bit, and I'll just show you. You just have to lift that. And it doesn't do the floor very good, it does leave a few marks on it. But hey, you have to do some things, unfortunately, and that's one of them. So now we're going to move on to the pros of this machine. So the first thing I'd like to say good about this machine is its cutting ability. Like I said earlier about the blade, the stock blade that came with it, I was more than happy with that blade when I first started with the machine. Cutting up some, resawing some planks and things like that. In my opinion, it cut really well, but a lot of people that I had seen on Facebook and other advice I'd been given was the first thing to do is get rid of the blade that comes with it and buy yourself a decent blade. So that's what I done, and so I went onto the Tuff Saws website, and again, I'm not sponsored or supported by this company. I've purchased these blades myself, and I bought the 12mm or 1/2 inch blade by 4 TPI, and I bought the 6mm or 1/4 inch blade, which is again a 4 TPI blade. Once I tried these, I realised how bad the stock blade that came with it was. Even though I was more than happy with it, I'm even happier with these blades. So what I'd like to say is thank you to Tuff Saws for their blades. I've only been using them a couple of weeks, but they have made a hell of a difference to this bandsaw on the work it turns out. Yep, so any recommendations, if you need a recommendation, is yes, when you buy this machine, is go and get yourself a couple more blades, decent ones, from anywhere. Now Lumberjack do sell blades to go on this machine. I would seriously consider not purchasing them because they're more than likely to be the ones that came with the machine to start with, so you're not 100% sure whether they're going to be that brilliant or not. But these are highly recommended from other people. That's why I purchased these ones. So the other thing I really want to say is really good about this machine is this jig, the circle cutting jig. It's a very simple jig. There's a square slot it slots into at the back here, and I'm just going to bring you round so you can see that. So here you go, this is where the circle cutting jig gets clamped into. So you undo the knob and it's very simple, it just slides into that square hole when I can get it, and this pin adjusts up and down depending on the height of your workpiece that you want to turn into a circle, and we'll be doing that in a few minutes. Now obviously there are a lot of makers out there that have made their own circle cutting jigs to go on the tabletop. This one obviously you have to have an indentation in the piece of wood that you want to turn into a circle. If you don't need that indentation, then you'll need a different type of jig, probably made by yourself. There are plenty of videos out on YouTube on how to do that, so you can go on to some of those and find them out. I'm going to move you again. So that's a great piece of kit, especially as it comes in the price of the bandsaw as well, because you can purchase it extra. So the other thing that I like with this machine, it's very simple. No, just there you go. It's the dust port. Now this dust port, and you can't see it from there, can you? Oh, I have to bring you in here. Can take a multitude of different pipes. This is for the 100, I believe that's the 63, and that is for the 50. So that is a great added extra. The other machines, apart from the Charnwood one, which is probably the same as this, they have a very limited dust port collection. As well as that, is if you don't, sorry, I'm going to change the subject slightly. If you don't have it connected, there is a tray here which collects the sawdust underneath. But if you do have dust collection connected to this, it collects it really well. That's only in there because I couldn't be bothered to connect the dust connection up, because I wanted to do a bit of cutting really quickly. So the dust collection is great on this machine, especially when you've got the 3 different sizes. You haven't got to worry about what size to put on there. You can have all 3 together, so that's really cool. This may be contradicting itself. Now I do like this light when it's in the right position, and it's really nice and bright, which I've shown you before. So that's another good positive, is that the light is bright, really bright. It's just its position, which is the awkward thing. The work surface is cast iron, the table, and it really is a nicely ground piece of cast iron. It is smooth, and I have treated it. When it first comes, it has a layer of protective covering on it, which is really easily, if you're really gentle, I just used a window scraper or a Stanley knife blade, just to scrape it off nice and easily. Then I just degreased it sort of with some denatured alcohol or methylated spirits, rubbed it down with a very fine piece of emery cloth and steel wool, and then I put some machine wax onto the table, and it feels really lovely. So it does, the material runs through this really nice and smoothly. So that's another good positive. The table, it's really been finished really well, to quite a good quality, to be honest.